All right, so what are your thoughts on the notion of white church and black church? I mean, we know there's other races, obviously, in this church. I mean, there's Korean church, there's a Chinese church, just within the confines of America. But two of the most distinct ones, and people have said it so many times before in years past, one of the most segregated times of the week is on Sunday when people separate to worship in their faith with their own cultures. Does something like that exist? What are your just overall thoughts about that dynamic?
Okay. Well, of course, that's a touchy subject because people are very sensitive about their culture, their race, and who they are. And so, it's probably not much you can say that won't offend somebody. So we're going to step across that line a bit and share on that. My perspective is I do believe that at some time in our history that was called for. That just because of the dynamics of what happened in times past where, we had to practice our faith together, where it was separated by race, by racism that existed, and that still exists today. And so I believe that there was a time in our history where that was needful and where people were able to find a common place together, common ground together to worship the God who they had their hope in, and that they understood where one another was at that point in time. And I believe that the times of history called for that. But I do believe in that the workings of God and what He is working in us and in this world that we live in is to break down barriers where barriers have been erected for different reasons and purposes. But God's work and His agenda is to tear down the barriers. It's what He designed from the very beginning, and it's what He wants to get back to now. And we as a church body, we've been called out for such a thing, for these particular purposes. So I believe now in the days that we are living in, and as a church body, we ought to be sensitive to hearing and understanding what God is doing in us and what He wants to use us to do in the world, which is to oppose those types of things that have separated us because of our experiences in history and such, that we're meant to be tools that change that.
What I notice is a lot of it has to do with worship style too. So okay, yeah. You guys know I'm ignorant enough to say this. Hey, you can put the camera on me real quick. Psych, put it back because I look like Boo Boo. I was just joking. Didn't really have to bring the camera to my face. Black folks, you know what I'm saying? They like to run around, they like to shout, they love their choir, they love their different types of worship style. They like somebody over there on the organ, they love preachers tuning up, right? Typically white churches, more calm, more reserved, more, I'm about to get up here with no shoes on and play more guitar-led songs. And those styles, right, just the styles of music alone are enough to draw people a different way. And also preaching and teaching style. I don't forget the first time somebody told me, and they thought they were paying me a compliment, you teach like a white preacher, so I like the way you teach. And which I gave them a G. Willikers thank you. But what is your take on that? I mean, yeah, we're trying to break down barriers and different things like that, but then there is a very real difference.
It is, and I still again think that stems from a lot of what we have, what has shaped us, and where it comes from historically. Now, I do believe that where we are now, that the separating is by choice at this point, and it is because of preferences. We prefer a certain style of worship because we feel, that this certain style of worship gets us in the place where we want to be spiritually and how we want to encounter our God. And other races feel the same way, where white cultures feel like we don't need to do all of that. We reach Him and He reaches us, by these means. So why do we have to do all of those things? And our culture, and I say this is my little term, my kind of corn, we like to live out loud. We just do. We like to live out loud, so everything that we do is out loud. And so we want to have those kind of experiences, because we feel if we don't have those experiences, we haven't tapped in, is what we call it. And so where we look at other cultures and we say, they're not really there. You know, we're there. We got this thing pinned. We got it coined, where we've had church when we've done all of those types of dynamics. And if we don't do all of those dynamics,
then we didn't have church.
We didn't have church, you know. And what that does is that shapes people's thinking and their perspective as to how they encounter God. And then from there, where we have the trouble in coming together is because we feel that there's a right and there's a wrong, and not just a difference. Not just a difference, and knowing that God is present with us, whether we do all of the hooping and the hollering. And people that know me know that I will praise God in a minute. I'll tear up a church.
Do it right now. Okay.
Don't start me now. But I will. I believe in praising God. But I also know that in that way, that's my personal connection and such with him. But that doesn't mean that we don't encounter him in other ways. I also encounter him in my quiet place. I also encounter him when I am still. So it's a thing, not really just leaving it at that preferences declare right and wrong, but preferences are just differences. And when we learn to come together and understand that even differences coming together shapes things in a more beautiful way, and it extends our perspective, our views, and hopefully our attitudes toward things. So I don't know if that helps. Go ahead.